Okay, no problem.
Pull them apart.
No, no
You
problem.
want some now or you want to wait till later?
No?
The plum, do you want them now or you want to wait till later?
Later.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're going to start today. Today is Palm Sunday. Today is March 28, 2021. We're going to continue with the book of Esther, chapter 4, verses from 10 to 17. We're going to start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, even though it's a rainy day, dear Lord. It's okay. If it wasn't for rain, we wouldn't have any flowers. Thank you, Lord, for today. Thank you for allowing us to be here one more time. And dear Lord, give us you got the wisdom so we can understand your word, and give us the strength so we can put what we learn into practice in our daily lives. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we start in the book of Esther, and as we have reviewed the previous chapters, the book of Esther started with King Xerxes of Persia giving a big party, a big banquet, a big feast on the eve of his Greek campaign. And then he commands the Queen Vashti to come and dance for them. And she was drunk, and she refuses. So he deposes Vashti and proceeds to replace her. Then he goes to his Greek campaign. Then he returns about 3 years later, defeated. Then he chooses Esther, his next queen. Esther had a cousin whose name was Mordecai. Mordecai becomes aware of a plot to assassinate the king. He informs Esther, and she informs the king, and the perpetrators are executed. So the king promotes Haman. Haman comes out of nowhere. He, all of a sudden, he has a great post, and right next to the king. And Haman was a very bad man, and he demands that people will pay respect to him wherever he went. And the respect means you bow to him and all the way to the ground and put your forehead in the ground. Now, Mordecai would not do that because he's a Jew and he only does that to the God of the Jews. Mordecai gets very upset, and he wants to get rid of not only Mordecai but the whole race of the Jews. So he makes a conspiracy, a plot to kill all the Jews in a certain date. Of course, Mordecai learns about this plot, and proceeds to inform Queen Esther, who, as a queen, she can do something. So we are at that point that Mordecai is in the process to inform Queen Esther what's going on about the plot. So I'm going to read. Last week we read that Mordecai was so upset that he put ashes on his head and he tore on the clothes. But Esther did not know what was going on, so he sends one of the eunuchs to talk to Mordecai. And Mordecai informs Esther there is a plot going to kill the Jews. So, and then he says, so what are you going to do about it? So this comes the answer of Queen Esther. Verse 10. Then she instructed him, means the eunuch, to say to Mordecai, all the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but only one law, that they be put to death unless the king extends the gold scepter to them and spares their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go to the king. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back his answer. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to the royal position for such a time as this? Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away and carried out all the Esther's instructions. Okay, so this is the verses that we're going to tackle today. So let's start reading the verses 10 and 11. Anna, could you please read 10 and 11?
Then she instructed him to say to Mordecai, all the king's officials and the people of the royal province know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they be put to death unless the king extend the golden scepter to them and spare the life. But 30 days has passed by since I was called to go to the king.
Okay, so Haman has a plot to kill the Jews at a certain date or a certain time to kill the whole, the whole race. And so Mordecai learns about the plot and said, "Well, nothing I can do, Mordecai, except pray, you know." But Queen Esther, she's a queen; she can do something. So she forms the Queen Esther. Listen, this is what's gonna go. This is what's gonna happen. So you're gonna do something about it. So Queen Esther, at first, she was hesitant because she says, "Listen, nobody just goes to the inner court without being called, you know, and not even me or anybody. And there's a risk in there. And if somebody goes there, there's a risk of a capital punishment. So think about what you're asking me to do. Besides, she says, I haven't been called to the king for 30 days. So that gives you a glimpse of what's going in court, you know. So the first part of the verse, the Persian kings surrounded themselves with an almost impossible circle of forms. You just not get to the king just like that. The law alluded was first enacted by the king of Media, and afterwards, when the empires were united, adopted by Persia. You know, the empire was a Mede and Persian empire, the Medes. It was a king of Media and then the king of Persia. They got together, and it was Medo-Persian Empire. And of course, to get to the king, you had to go through several layers of people, bureaucracy, like in every place. You know, you cannot. Even when you write a letter to the president of the United States, it goes to several layers. You know, sometimes it does get. I remember when my daughter was born, my wife then wrote a letter to Barbara Bush. Just like that, you know, just a little girl. And, she answered it.
Oh, wow.
She answered in her own writing. And he said, it's you have a joy of a little baby girl. And the years just gets greater and better and better. And Barbara Bush. So that's very unusual, you know. I mean, you don't just get that.
Take the time and respond.
Now, can you imagine, of course, whatever letter you write to the president, it goes to layer. It might get to the president. Depends. In this case, of course, the king of Persia was almost untouchable. Okay. And the restriction, even though was not intended to the queen herself, but she was taking a risk just by going there. Not even the favorite wife would go there just like that. And the law was that if you do that and try to get to the king, there is a law that says that it's a death penalty. You cannot just do that, you know. They cannot just say no. It seems by this account it was death for those who go into the inner parlor, where the king usually was, without being called. This was made both for the king's safety and for reference for the majesty. And also, unless the king had a staff in his hand, made of gold, called a royal scepter. Now, if for some reason he would say, okay, you're okay, you can come in, but if it doesn't say that, you'll be killed. It's like in the Roman Empire when the gladiators were fighting, and then one gladiator will defeat the other one, and then was about to kill him. So he will go to the emperor, and the emperor will just say yes or no, kill him or not. So it was up to the king. And then she adds, Queen Esther adds, but 30 days have passed since I was called to the king. Now this was Esther's greatest difficulty. At other times when her visits to the king were frequent, she might have ventured with little or no fear, uninvited into his presence. But not having been invited to go into the king for a month, she had reason to fear that he did not wish to see her, and it would be especially dangerous to approach him publicly in the great throne chamber. Now, just think about this for a second. She hasn't been called to the king for 30 days. Of course, the king had so many wives and concubines, and she was the chief wife. It just gives you a glimpse of what's going on in the court, how terrible that was. We here have a glimpse of female life in the harem of a Persian king. Days and months might elapse and a wife will not see the king. How could be otherwise, where wives and concubines were numbered by the hundreds? Okay, so it gives you how oppressed were the women at that time, even now in different ways. Okay, verse 12 and 13. I'm going to read that. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. Do not think that because you are the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. Now, in antiquity, especially in Israel and other kings, you were never safe. If a king dies and a rival will come to the throne, you, as member of the present king, were not safe. Your whole family might be in danger. Sometimes they would kill your whole family because they didn't want any survivors. And that, so of course, is if until now in Soviet Russia, Stalin was so paranoid about people taking his power that he would get rid of everybody. That he thought, I mean, it's a terrible thing to live like that. But now without reason, because we see that the book of Nehemiah, the king of Persia had a Nehemiah who would taste whatever food come to the king, he would taste first, just in case he would have been poisoned. And in the Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, she was killed by one of her bodyguards. So it's not unusual to be suspicious. Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, he was also assassinated by one of his people. So it's not unusual. So Mordecai's argument was brutal in its clarity. Death awaited Esther. So he tells Esther, don't think just because you are queen, you're going to be safe. Death awaited Esther whether or not she went into the king. She had nothing to lose. If she failed, deliverance would come from some other place. But maybe, who knows, maybe God had made her queen just for the purpose of rescuing his people. Sometimes you think about it, why are we here? Why are we here when I was born in South America, I never thought I was going to end up, but be here in Fort Lee or Cliffside Park or in the New York City metropolitan area. And a lot of us also, come from different places sometimes, even in the country. Why are we here? There's a reason for it, And as a Christian, you have a duty. No matter where you are, that's where you start your Christian life. Even if you're here or in other parts of the world, even if you're in your own country, you, as a Christian, you have an obligation to spread the word, because those are Matthew 28. Those are your marching orders. Okay, those are your Great Commission. So, signifying that her being queen and in the king's palace will be no protection for her, and she wouldn't be safer than the Jews elsewhere, since they got no great enemy. I mean, the worst enemy could be in the king's court. And as soon as it will be known that she was a Jew, she would not escape. So let's go to verse 14. Can you read verse 14, please?
For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise for another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows that you have to come your royal position for such a time as this?
So, say, if you remain silent at this time, I will not speak to the king in favor of the Jews, because of the danger you'll be exposed in doing it. Relief and deliverance to the Jews for the Jews will arise from some other place. Mordecai seemed confident of it, which by some other means Jews will be delivered. If not through intercession of Esther, yet from some other quarter or some other hands. That's a good thing, Sometimes if you are, let's say if you are the only one in your family that's praying for your family, or the only one Christian in the family, and you refuse to do it, God will be magnanimous and will do it some other way. Maybe some other people that they know over there would be praying for them. I believe that I came to the Lord because somebody was praying for me. And I believe it was my mother, because she never stopped praying for me. And so you come to realize that you have a family that most of them are not Christians, but you are. You know better. So in the book of Samuel says that it'd be a sin if I don't pray for other believers. So in the same way that it's our responsibility and obligation as the only one that's doing that, to do that, even though they are indifferent to what you do. I'm not gonna keep on going with this, but you know what I'm talking. Sometimes your closest family members, they're so indifferent to to what you do. And some of them are antagonistic. In my family, they're not antagonistic. They're just indifferent. Somebody says, what's the opposite of love? Somebody says it's indifference. I mean, it's not hate, it's indifference. Okay, so some scholars, now the book of Esther is people say that the book of Esther, the word of God is not there. Okay? And the word prayer is not there. But, some scholars make a big thing about God's name that being mentioned in the book of Esther. Nevertheless, the most vital and living faith in God is evident in very line of it. When she says fasting, I think it's understood. You just don't say fast and don't do anything else. Fasting and prayer goes along, and it's already understood that, I think, So, Nico, we are in verse 14. So here, Mordecai expected deliverance from of the quota. Why? Because he believed in God's protection for a chosen people. Now, although Mordecai did not speak of God, nor allude directly to his promises, he still grounded his hopes for the preservation of God's people upon the word and promises of God, as revealed in the Holy Spirit. Now, he was a Jew. He was familiar with the Holy Scriptures. He knew about Moses. He knew about Abraham. He knew about all this. He knew that God would deliver his people. And so this was just like Abraham when he was about to sacrifice his son Isaac. And he was going to comply with it. But he knew that a great nation would come from him and his descendant. So he knew that even if I kill my son Isaac, God will resurrect him because he made a promise. So he knew if even he went through with it, Isaac will be resuscitated. So Mordecai concluded from the prophetic scripture that God will not allow his people to be destroyed before his purposes with respect to them were accomplished, and was therefore satisfied that deliverance will arise from one quarter of another. And then he says to Queen Esther, "But you and your father's family will perish." He gives her a warning, and he says, for such a neglect of people in distress, not having a feeling of pity with them, and not exerting herself on their behalf, there is no doubt that her and her family will perish. It was better to perish in a good cause than a bad one. If you're going to die, better use a good cause. So Mordecai does not lessen the danger that Esther suggested to him. He lets her know that if her kindred fell, she must not hope to escape, that he fully believed that God will stand by them, and she will lose the honor of being their deliverer if she gladly serves. Can you imagine that? Here you are, as a queen, in a position you could save the Jews. Now God is giving you that. You're going to have the honor of saving these people. In the same way, we may have the honor of saving our relatives that are not Christians, because we know the truth. They do not. Okay, so it's such a, and this concept has come to me through the years, how important it is to pray daily for your family, that you know they're not saved. It's an obligation that you must have until the Lord takes you home, I think. So, and then he says to Queen Esther, and who knows, maybe that you have come to royal position for such a time as this. Who knows? Maybe God put you here, right, Nico? Maybe God put you here in Fort Lee. Did you expect when you were born that you were going to end up in Fort Lee? No. Who knows the things that you're going to do here, right? As a Christian, because some people that do not read the Bible, they're going to see you, and probably you're going to be the only Bible they will ever read by your example. So it's so important wherever you work, wherever you go. So, so Mordecai concludes suggesting that her advancement, it was just by luck or divine providence that Esther ended up as a queen. Nobody will know that, and so we can deduce from that if we have faith to trust God, He will never fail us. Number two, those who unbelieving fear decline the path of duty are just giving up to the danger which they are seeking to avoid. If you think that you're not doing it because you're going to be murdered, well, you're going to be murdered no matter what, Then it's good to observe the leadings of providence and correspond with the appearance of the sign of God. Once you, one of the things that you do is that if you if you pray for something, let's say you got a job or two jobs, two offers of a job, and you don't know which one to go. If I go here, I go, then you pray. You know, once you pray, just take one choice. Don't think, don't doubt. Will this be really? You already prayed. You know, so whatever choice, God is with you. It's like going to a restaurant. You pray before you eat. You don't know what happens in the kitchen. You don't know what they put in your bed. But that's why you pray, to be protected. You know, that's prayer is so important. Don't doubt after you pray, I'm trying to say. So let's continue with this. Okay, Nico, verse 15 and 16.
Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: Go gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish.
Now that takes a lot of guts, right? For a woman to say, even if he kills me, I'm going to do it anyway. You know, there was I saw a movie many years ago about concentration camp, and there was a Polish people were prisoners in a concentration camp from the Nazis, and they engineered a plan to escape. Okay, and for that to do that, somebody had to go into some house and put all the what do you call that? The lights out or the alarm out. You know, it was not very easy, but it was such a way that whoever put the alarm down, that thing will explode, and that person will be the first one killed. Everybody will escape, but that person will be killed. So there was this woman that was going to do it, but nobody told her that was going to do it. So at the end, he said that nobody knew that was going to happen. Finally, they discovered, and they asked her, "This is what's going to happen. You're going to put that down, and the first person going to be killed is you. But the rest is going to escape. And still we're going to ask you to do it." So she went there and she did it. And of course she was the first one to be killed. But everybody else died. She sacrificed herself for the people, for her own people. And in this case, she's got a lot of guts, you know. Even if it kills me, I'm going to go.
That's love.
That's love, but that's also bravery, you know. I mean, how many people can do that?
Willing to.
Yeah. So then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa. So finally, she's determined. After going back and forth, she said, "Okay, done." You know, determined at last, Esther resolves to get together Mordecai and all the Jews in Susa to acquaint them or to inform them what was going to take place. But not as a body together means don't get together so many people, because if you're going to get together and there's a crowd, people get suspicious. Don't do it. Just do it separately, you know. Just inform one-on-one, because the authority is going to see a crowd of 3, 5, 10 people. What's going on? You know, people get nervous. Any place. If you see a crowd in New York City of 20 people, police say, "What's going on? You know, do you have a permit to assembly or something?" You don't want crowds like that unless it's illegal. And then he said, "Get all together the Jews in Susa and fast for me. That is, also pray for her, that she might courage to go into the king and meet with success," because prayer is the principal thing. Fasting is secondary. Okay, I think. Now it says, "Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. The fast to be continued until the 3rd day. They were not to eat at evening, but fast 2 whole days and 2 whole nights, until the 3rd day came, on which Esther will go to see the king." And then she said, "I am an attendant, will do the same thing. We'll fast as you do. In the same manner as you do, we're going to do." Now her attendants were proselytes. You know proselytism? Proselytes are people who are Gentile, but adopted the Jewish religion. Proselyte. Okay? Maybe Esther had the power to choose her own people. And then she said, "When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law." Then she said, afterwards, or then, when everybody has fasted and prayed, then she was determined to, in the strength of the Lord, to go into the king's presence with her petition, though it was contrary to the law. So after praying, you take action. The queen could take certain liberties, such as unexpectedly going to the royal presence, invite them into a banquet. However, she hasn't been there for 30 days. But she had to humbly ask and obtain the king's sanction. Such an intrusion into a royal presence was liable to be punished as a capital crime, unless the king extended a royal scepter as a token of royal favor. So the appeal of Mordecai was irresistible. Having appointed a solemn fast for 3 days, she expressed her firm resolution to make an appeal to the king, though she should perish in the attempt. And then she said, and if I perish, I perish. What she was saying is that I'm willing, ready, and able, willing to risk life for the good of her people. And if such was the pleasure of God, that she should lose it, she was content and accept his will, leaving herself entirely in his hands to dispose of her as he thought fit. It seems like, as Esther was saying, paraphrasing, though my danger be great and evident, considering the content of that law and the uncertainty of the king's mind, and the severity which he showed to my predecessor, Vashti, yet, rather than neglect my duty to God and to his people, I will go to the king and cast myself cheerfully and resolutely upon God's providence for my safety and success. If I lose my life in this attempt to save my people, I shall lose it cheerfully. I see it is my duty to make the attempt, and come though I will, I'm resolved to do it. That takes a lot of guts. So let me read, let's go to the last verse, verse 17. Romeo?
So Mordecai went away and carried on all of Esther's instruction.
Okay, so now Mordecai, as she had put Esther in a dangerous but necessary situation, he will follow her instructions, since he perceived her counsel to be good. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Mordecai first had commanded Esther, and she obeyed him. Now Esther commanded Mordecai, and he obeyed her. They served one another in law. They had a plan, backed by a mighty God. You always have to have a plan, right? Even when you set your goals, like a daily or weekly, you must have a plan, like a 5-year plan or 2-year plan. When I came to this country, one of my goals was to study at university, because it was so difficult to study university where I come from. It's where I come from in Lima, Peru. They had this university where 500 people, 5,000 people would apply, but only 500 vacancies. And there were not too many that can accept it. Either you're very smart or you got some influence. So you try once, you try twice, and people would try for years just to enter. Until some people just give up. So after trying twice, I said, this is not going to happen.
It's the protocols they follow. It's difficult.
I know. So, I wasn't that great of a student either. So, okay. So I said, no, this is not going to happen. So after a few things, where could I go? Finally, I decided to come here, or, Providence. And the reason why I was convinced to come here was because somebody told me, you can work and you can pursue a university career in the United States. I didn't think that was possible, because no matter where you go, somebody had to support you. Somebody had to pay for your education. But this guy told me, it was a relative of mine. He said, I have a cousin that lives in New York City, and he works and he goes to school and he pays for his own education. To me, it was inconceivable that. So I say, if that's possible, I want to do that. And it was, and it was done. And not only me, but so many other people did it, and especially in New York City. I guess in other parts of the country it's a lot harder, because there are not so many facilities. But anyway, so you gotta have a plan, and these people here, Mordecai and Esther, they had a plan. She's gonna go to the king, and she's gonna tell the king, this man Haman has a plot to kill all the Jews. I'm a Jew, gonna kill me too. What are you gonna do about it? So the ball is in the king's court. So we're gonna see that next chapter. So as we close, we see so many things happening in our country, in the place where we live. Sometimes so many injustices, and things are getting away with murder. You're saying, well, we gotta pray. Sometimes you think prayer is not enough, but yes, prayer is enough, and you must think that it's the Lord who is who is moving everything. And vengeance is mine, says the Lord. So let me finish that with a quotation from Psalm 94. The Lord is a guy who avenges. O God, who avenges, shine forth. Rise up, judge of the earth. Pay back to the proud what they deserve. How long, Lord, with the wicked? How long will the wicked be jubilant? Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you. So let me finish this.